So, hi everybody and welcome back to the Unreal Engine 5 full game tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 56 and in this video we are talking about save game. In our last video we was here in this block gameplay, and in gameplay we did our blueprint instruction text record and we changed this to to our table system, right? And here we are going back now from this block to start game, and the reason for that is the save game must be set up at start. So let's open up this start game and check what we had there. So we finished already these 3 blocks, but you can see I marked here save game, and this we have to do, but I also marked here basic style because this is also something what we have to do in this game. We try to make this game in 7 days, and that's why we make all things in basics. So with that said, we try to make a save game. Actually, Horror Engine has a save game itself. When you go here to the content drawer, go to the folder Horror Engine and write here save game here in the search bar, it pops up that Horror Engine has here this component called Horror Engine save game component. When you double click on it, then you can use the Horror Engine save game component, and actually if you want save, for example, this lighter or this pistol, which I have just for test purposes here on the ground, then you need this Horror Engine save game, or you set up your own inventory system, because these objects need to be collected and used. There are different videos online how you can make your own inventory system, or you can just analyze this Horror Engine and then use this and integrate your code here. But because we are doing a game in 7 days, this is too complicated, so I skipped this whole process. I said I don't need a save game about these objects because that takes too long, but I will make still a save game just for score, so that you can achieve a score. And for this purpose I use my save game from my last video, from my last game, sorry. We created there a very super basic save game. Let me show this. That was this one here. So I created there only more or less 2 functions. One function was just load the game, and one function was just save the game, and this one I want to use now here in this Horror Engine. But instead of just getting and copying the code here, I created also my own save game component, and that is the thing what we are going to do in this video. We go to our game folder, then you create a folder and call it save actor component, because we create a save game component. First of all, right click, new folder, call it actor component. After that, open it up, and now we will start with our actor component. It's similar to this Horror Engine component here. The only difference is it's not so complicated. All right, let's do it. So here in your actor component folder, right click, and then you go here to the blueprint class. And here in blueprint class, you go down where it says actor component. You click on it, you name your actor component, for example, AC for actor component, and then anything what you like. In my case, save load game. And yeah, that's it. And then you double click and open it. I just delete this one because I already have one. So you double click and open it, and you can see my actor component has nothing in it. But then I created functions because I just want to call this. You don't have to use functions. I don't know if this is the best way. I just made this with functions. Perhaps it's better not to use functions, but we will see. This is our version with functions. I made it just very fast as a prototype. And then what you can do is you can click here this plus signs, and then it will create a function node, something like this one. And then you name this function what you like. In my case, load game, because this is the load function. And then later we make also a save function. But then you can see all this code we have already discussed in the game 1. And now I will go fast through it So I think you know it anyway, the most parts of it. All right, the first block is, like you can say, we make a save game check. So you call for this node, does save game exist? This node here will check if we already saved anything, and if so, then we will branch depends on true. Then we go to load. If it's false, we go to create a save game object. But important is here, when you created this one, you click here on the slot name, right click, promote this to a variable, and write here the slot if you already have one. So you can load anything. If you have other slots, you can load it from there. All right, with that one, after this check node, we make a branch. So we check if yes or no. If it's false, and when you start the game first time, it is false because we have not created then. That's why we go first here down the false route and see what we have to do. So here, we are creating a save game object node. So what you do is from here, right, just create save game object, and the save game object must be selected. But we have to create first a save game object because probably don't have a save game object now. All right, so we have to create before we can continue here. Let's do this fast. So what we do, oops, why I can't connect this. So what we do is we go back to our folder. In my folder, you can make this in another place. I made this just for test purposes here in the same place. Right click and then blueprint class again. And this time not here. You go here to this drop down, all classes, and write this time save game in it. And there is the save game. You click on it, select it, and call what you like. I called it SG for save game. And yeah, and then the name what you like for a save game. In my case, save and loading. All right, I delete this one because I already have one. Then the save game, double click it, and you can see the save game has almost nothing in it. I only created one variable, and these variables are the variables which you want save. And like I said, I make just a scoring system. For test purposes, I made here a score, integer, and that's it. But when you compare this with this horror engine save game, they have here much more. And yeah, if you make an inventory system, you probably need also more things, but in our case that's enough. All right, we did this, and we go back to our actor component. So we was here where we go down, we created this save game object, and now here we have now to select that what we created, and in my case it's this SG, and then you select this one. And then after you selected this one, here is a blue output node. Here right click, promote this to variable. And after you here, I can't promote this to variable because I already have promoted this variable, but you just find here option promote this to variable and call this variable what you like. I called it REF for reference, and then this reference name here I took from here. And the next step is from this point you try to find the node save game. Oops, what is it called? Save game to slot. We have find the node save game to slot. Yes, here you can see this node you need. And important is that you do what? First of all, this save game to slot is asking for a save game object. Yes, we just created one here. We promoted it to a variable, and we can connect it here, or you can connect it from here as well. All right, and the next thing is very important is the slot name, and here you define the slot name which you want to use, right? For example, I can change this one to 2 if I want, but I don't make it. Important is when you define this one time, use it all time here as well. You can see this variable which we created in details panel. I wrote it here, and if you use this variable, then all time the slot name is here used. All right, with this one we have finished our first call, because like I said, when you start the game, it creates the slot and then we have it. But if you start the game again, then it's not creating this one because we already have this one. Then it will go from here to the true because we already have a slot. And let's talk about the true path here, and let's make it fast. So what we do is, because we already have a slot, you get this variable here, what you have anywhere saved. In my case, save game here, this one. You get this variable, and then you can write here load game from slot. Load game from slot or something like that. Here is it, load game from slot. The slot name we have already saved here. And index is not important because only if you have there are more things, we don't care about this one. And then you just connect this here, that's it. And of course, now we have loaded it from slot, and now we cast this from this blue output node. We cast this one to our created save game object, and this object you have created before, right? So you cast to this one, in my case as save game, and then this what is that, as game save load, this one, and you cast it to your object which you just created before in your folder, right? The save game object, that's it. And then you make here on this blue output node, you can just make again promote to variable, and then create a variable, call it what you like. I called it a reference again for this one, which is this in this case I made not promote variable, sorry. What I made here is, because this one and this one is the same, so I just took this already created variable here. Oops, I created this one, I set this one, and then I just connected this one because this one is the same like this one, so I don't need to create here another variable. All right, we can just use this one here. All right, and then here I have a special block, and this special block comes later in account. Let's skip this special block here because that is the block which we needed just for our load game, right? All right. And then we go here to functions again, and you click plus and create again a function. I did this, and then you have something like this, a save game without this node here probably. We ignore here this input node because we need it later. I will explain later what this is. And first of all, what we do is, because we save game, we create first of all our save game object. So you write again here, create save game object, and you should find this node here. Then after this one, I promoted this again to a variable, and you can see this variable again, I don't promoted this to a variable, I just used this one again because it's again the other save game object. So I just assigned this so that I have not here again a variable, another variable. I use all time the same here. And then here this block we ignore again because this comes later. This is the data which we want save, but then after this one you would create first this save game to slot name, save game to slot. So you create something like this, and then like this one, and this save game to slot, you have to assign this object. It's asking here for a save game object. This is the save game object which we have from here. We have assigned it here, we need it here as well. And here you write again exactly the slot name. In my case, it's called save slot 1. And you can just take this one here as well. Instead of using here this name, you can just use here the variable here, which we have saved here already. That will work as well. It's even better than this one, I think. I don't know why I have this one here. Let's replace this. This is better. Because normally you don't need to hard code this one. All right. So the question is now, I have this one box here and this other box here. And this is the data which we will load from our game. And here it's the data which we want save from our game. So this must be done separately. But before we can do this, we have to use this component, right? So now I have created my component. This is this actor component. Now, how I use this actor component. And first of all, you have to add this actor component to an actor. In my case, I'm adding it to the game mode because I want that the game mode load the game and save the game at start and at the end. So first of all, let's find the game mode which is used in this level. In my case, in world settings, I have provided here the information. Here I use in this level this horror engine. So it's not my game mode. I use the horror engine game mode here. You can see the horror engine itself has nothing here. And what I did now is you go first here on top to the component section. Then you go to add. And then you find your component which you have created. In my case, AC, and then it was called AC save load game. And when you write this one, you should find your, not here, sorry, you should add, and then you will write here AC, and then you should find your component. In my case, here is it, AC save load game. I already added this one here, AC save load game. So this component compiles save time all time, right? Like all time. And then you have this component in, and we can use this component. And in my case, you can now drag and drop this component here when you want to use it. And like I showed you before, we just created here two functions, which means this one and this one, we can call them when we need them, right? And here in my horror engine, I want to call it at the start, because when this game is loading, it should load that what I want to show on the screen. In my example, I want just show the score. Like I said, I make so a simple score system. All right. So what we do is we take this one here. We call the function now load here from, and this is the function which we created in our component. And here you have probably not this output here. And now we have to talk about this output here a little bit more, because let's go back to our component and talk about this output a little bit more in detail here in our load function. Not this one, sorry. Load. So here. So we finished here this whole block, but here was load data, right? And in my case, I don't know if this is the right way to do it. I made a fast prototype. I said, okay, now I want score. I want save the score. But first of all, you have to get the score, because this is the load section. So I load it from my save game. All right, how we do this. And here we, at the end, you can see we loaded, we created, first of all, we loaded from slot, then we cast it to our save game. The save game is at, oops, I have to go here again. The save game is this one, and the save game here has my score. And here I can call this score, oops, not here. And then I promoted it again to a variable. I just used this variable here. And now I can call this from my save game object here, the score. Let's call it score. And you can call it, you can see save game, this one. This is the save game object, get score. And that's actually, that's exactly that what I did here before. And now the problem is when I added this component to my horror engine, I have not checked this, how they communicate each other. I have not, I made this just prototyping very fast. So, and then I said, okay, I have no idea. I have to research this later, how to make this properly. But here is one way how we can get the score, is just create a return node and write and connect this score which you have here just to the return node. Now I created one more, but if you made something like this, just select the return node, go to details and deselect that what you don't want. For example, the score one I don't want, and then I connected here. You can also add here return nodes or input nodes here on this side. And then that's it. That's it. Here I load this data. So you can see I load it from my object to this score, and this score here is a return node. Return node means the caller of this function. Let's go to the caller who is calling this function, and you can see I use it here in my begin play. Here's the component, and here I call this function as now this score return node. And here we saved so we can load now the score. Perhaps we should rename this a little bit better so that we understand what we are doing here. Let's call this not score load, let's call it load score. Makes a little bit more sense that we understand this. All right, and now we go back to a horror engine, and then let's talk about this block. So at start, I want when my game mode starts at this level, so this is this level here, when this level starts, this game mode will start, this game mode will call my load game, this load game will get me back here my score, and this score I can say I can create now a variable in this horror in this horror game engine mode. So you can make here a promote to variable and then call this variable what you like. I called it gameplay score. And here for test purposes, I printed on screen. Normally what you would make is probably a widget and then print it on the widget. But here this is just for test purposes, and we will see this in a moment. And that's it. And that's it. And the other things here is just input for begin play of this game mode. But this is the block which we made here. The other things are which was set before this. All right, and then I use the same thing again for event end play. Event end play is all time called when we close this game mode here. For example, if you are leaving this level, because if you are leaving this level, this game mode is probably also closed, or if you are shutting down or you are quitting or whatever. And then this node will be called, and when this node called, I have set here call again. You can see that's the same thing here, like here, similar. You get your save, you get again here your component from here. Then this time not call load game, this time because we are quitting, we want save all our data. All right, let's call save game. And this save game needs also an input this time, because now you need data which you want save. So in my case, how we make this, we go back to our component. This time not to load game, this time we switch to save game, and in save game we go here to the start this time, not to the end, here to the start. We select the save game node, then select this, and then here right in the details panel you go down to input, you click here plus, and you write the input name what you want. In my case it's called gameplay score, and it is an integer because score is numbers, so I use integer here, and that's it. And then you connect this one here to this block which we have not talked before. Now we have talk about this. So here we created our save game object in before, and now the save game object again is this object here and we want this time save to this variable, not get it, save to it. And how we make this, we get it again, but this time we write not here score get, we write here set. This is now saving to this variable, and then you connect this input what we created from here to this set score, and that will save. And then you connect it again here to the other part so that it can save the slot. That was the part which is saving data. The other was the part where we load data. And now we can go back to our event end play, And this little thing here, what you see, is just for demonstration purpose again. This is not real gameplay. This you can see I just get the score here for test purposes, and I just added randomly 2000 points to see if this is working, and then I set the score here again. So this will be every time when I close my game, I will add here 2000 points to my score, and this one will be saved game here. And important is, now you call the save game and you have this input. And the reason for why you have here an input is, let's go and see this again, because we open here in save game, we created this input here. That's why we have this input here, and here I can say, please save save this data here in my save game. This is my score which I get. This score I get here, and I save it here. I set it here and save it here in my slot. All right, that's about it. That's about my simple score game. Of course, we have to set up the score system a little bit better, but this is just what I made. And of course, you can set up the score, call this save game, load game, or whatever in other places as well. This is just for initial load here, and this is initial save. But the save game, for example score, you can save them perhaps in between as well, because like I said, this event end play, when you, let's say I play this and you close your, I don't know, your stop playing this one, it will be automatically saved. All right, I think that's enough for save game. This is just a primitive, very simple setup. And how does this work? Let's compile all and see, and save all. This one is okay, and test it. So let's see. I test this again. Let's see if I find. You can see on the side it says now 50,000, this blue number on the left side, and now it's disappeared. And now when I close my, that was by the way the loading. And now when I close now this one, let's press F8 and close this 50,000 number, which was here, will be 70,000. Let's test it. I start again. Let's see if I, and you can see here it is 70,000, right? And it works. And when I start again, it's 90,000. Yes. So at least the simple primitive save game, load game is working. And now you have just to transfer this number here, which is loaded at, where's that? Here, this loaded instead. Let's say so. We save this number here in this gameplay score, and you can bring this one, call this one here, for example, in a widget, and make here a score widget or something like that, and use this variable there. And this one we will do probably in one of the other videos. And one more thing, again, if you want to use a little bit more advanced component, use this horror engine component if you want, or just watch online other inventory systems. So how to save, for example, this these objects in an inventory, and how to use them, how to save them and load them. But because we are trying to make this game in 7 days, I use my just primitive system here for score, and the player must finish this game if we want a high score. That's it. And this is anyway only one scene, one level, so it's doable in a short amount of time. All right, with that said, I stop here this video. If you have any question, any suggestions, just like all time, write it in the comments. See you in the next video, and bye, good luck, and like all time, have fun and never give up.